John Carter, okay. Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever. Today I'm going to talk about John Carter. John Carter is a 2012 theatrical release about John Carter finding himself on Mars and fighting in a war that isn't his and falling in love with a woman that is from Mars. It is directed by Andrew Stanton, cinematography by Mindel, editing by Eric Zumbrennen, music by Michael Giacchino, and it's written by Andrew Stanton, Michael Chabon, and Mark Andrews. It's based off a book called A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Shall we compare? Captain John Carter of the Confederacy goes hunting for gold in Arizona after the Civil War. He strikes gold and runs into Apache natives who he flees from into a cave that takes him to Mars. On Mars, called Barsoom by the residents, he has great speed and strength due to the low atmosphere. John falls in with the Tharks, an alien race on Mars, and gets great respect quickly, befriending the chieftain Tars Tarkas. The Tharks capture Deja Thoris, a princess of the Red Martians who controls canals and agriculture. Carter rescues her to return her to her people. Carter gets caught up in the politics and leads a group against the city-state of Zondanga. The atmosphere plant that helps the state of the air on Mars starts to break down. Carter enters the factory with a secret code to get help but ends up suffocating and wakes up back on Earth. The end. I would definitely say they're a little different. There are obviously similarities. John Carter gets in with the Tharks, rescues Deja, helps defeat, gets married. The biggest difference from what I can tell are the Therns. The Therns are never mentioned in this summary, and they're a big deal in the medallion on how to get back and forth from Earth and Mars, so I don't know if they were further along books that deal with the Therns, or if that was just made up as a reason, but they're a little different. There's definitely similarities, but there are also big differences. The film stars Taylor Kitsch as John Carter, Lynn Collins as Deja Thoris, Samantha Morton as Sola, Willem Dafoe as Tars Tarkas, Mark Strong as Matai Shang, and Dominic West as Santhan. Burroughs wrote 11 novels dealing with John Carter and his children, and they all premiered serialized in the magazine The All Story. In 1931, Bob Clampett had actually approached Burroughs about creating an animated film, and Burroughs was enthusiastic. So they started rotoscoping, they started designing the Tharks, they started producing some footage. MGM was enthusiastic, and then eventually MGM decided Middle America wasn't ready for that kind of concept and nipped it in the bud, and then Flash Gordon actually premiered later that year, funnily enough. And if it had ended up going through, it would have happened before Snow White, which is crazy. Ray Harryhausen really wanted to make them, and in the 80s, Disney got the rights. So they brought Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio on to do the writing, John McTiernan to direct, Tom Cruise to star, and then eventually McTiernan fell off because he felt the visual effects weren't in the place they needed to be in order to bring Burroughs' novels to life. Then Paramount bought up the rights, and they were given it a go with James Jacks and Robert Rodriguez. And then Robert Rodriguez ended up resigning from the DGA because he sparked controversy when he gave co-director credit to Sin City's creator and artist, and that led Paramount to having to fire him because he was no longer a unionized director, and they hired Kerry Conran. Kerry Conran left, had to leave, and then Jon Favreau was brought on. And Jon Favreau wanted to be really faithful to the books. He wanted the Tharks to be 15 feet high. He wanted the Civil War history. He really favored practical effects and was just ready to be gung-ho on it. And then in 2006, Paramount decided to not renew the rights, them having the rights, because they wanted to lean more into Star Trek. So Jon Favreau left and ended up making Iron Man. Stanton had obviously had success with Finding Nemo and WALL-E, and he was begging Disney to reacquire the rights for this because he really wanted to bring the novels to life. Disney was super hesitant to let Andrew Stanton do this because he had never directed a live-action film. He wanted to use unknown actors in the roles, and it was a big risk. He convinced them, he pitched it as Indiana Jones on Mars, but they knew they had doubts on Finding Nemo and WALL-E, so they let him go with it. After WALL-E, Stanton visited the archives of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Inc., and he had a lot less time for pre-production than normal, but he felt he had an advantage because he had already read the books as a kid and spent most of his life picturing how he would make the movie anyway. In preparation for directing the film, he lost 20 pounds and was running multiple miles a day because he wanted to avoid ever going to his trailer. He said, He would never go to his trailer or sit down except when necessary to avoid looking like the privileged animation geek who cheated his way to the top. Stanton didn't have a huge idea of casting, he just knew he wanted the villains to be British. He saw an episode of Friday Night Lights, or a scene of Friday Night Lights with Taylor Kitsch in it and wanted him. When Lynn Collins was cast, Taylor Kitsch told her she'd have to quit smoking, and she did. Tom Cruise called saying he was interested in playing John Carter, and there were some conversations, but as Lynn Collins infers, Tom Cruise was too old for the part. Willem Dafoe was excited to work with Stanton again after working with him on Finding Nemo, and was surprised how much Stanton wasn't banking on fixing it in post and really wanted to make sure it was right there. They filmed from January 2010 to July in Utah and a bunch of other places. Stanton thought Rodriguez and Frazetta's costume design that had previously been worked on a previous time of trying to make the film was super sexist, so he wanted to go a different direction. Stanton's buddies at Pixar totally disagreed with him and thought opening with just like a boring narration was wrong and they should open on Mars, and Stanton thought if he opened on Mars and then had to slow down all the action to explain what was going on, it was stupid, so they met with a compromise. The VFX team was determined to outdo Avatar, which is crazy, and then there were some, I'm not going to go fully into it, but there were some excellent details about the lighting setup and difficulties they had on location in Utah, like dealing with weather and everything like that, and just like specifics about the lighting and all that kind of stuff. That was really interesting. If you're into that kind of stuff, please go read about it. It was really fun. Stanton needed a lot more reshoots, and Disney was hesitant. He told Disney it was because it was his first time making a live action film. People heard about the reshoots, and Hollywood has a tendency to assume that means there's problems and the movie's gonna be bad. Taylor Kitsch and Lynn Collins were on the defensive, but Hollywood was really not having it. Collins was super disappointed in the reshoots. They thought they ruined her character. She felt her character was really independent and strong, and she thinks that the studio wore Andrew Stanton down to make her a little bit more vulnerable, and in her mind, kind of ruin her character. John Carter's marketing campaign is considered one of the worst in Hollywood history. I barely remember hearing about it. I remember seeing like maybe one trailer about it and being like, I have no idea what that's about. No thanks. Conan the Barbarian with Jason Momoa came out and didn't do well. Then Cowboys vs. Aliens came out and didn't do well. I remember that. It wasn't going well for that kind of mix of like cowboy sci-fi moment, and this is kind of that with the whole like Confederate soldier and Mars moment. They didn't name it by the first book, A Princess of Mars, because they thought no boys would go see it, and then it was going to be called John Carter of Mars, and they took out the of Mars because they thought no girls would go see it, so it was just called John Carter. And this is considered one of the biggest mistakes and fumbles of all time, because who's going to go see a movie called John Carter when they know nothing about it? It's not a big pull. Like, the first Indiana Jones is called The Last, it's not The Last Crusade. That's the last movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Sorry, it was almost The Last Crusade. No normal marketing tactics. No big social push. No merchandise. People were counting it out before they even saw it. Had a $306.6 million budget. Made $284.1 million at the box office. That is terrible. That is a huge loss. Has a 52% Rotten Tomatoes. Consensus, while John Carter looks terrific and delivers its share of pulpy thrills, it also suffers from uneven pacing and occasionally incomprehensible plotting and characterization. Lynn Collins was told by her team to just hide away for a while. She ended up firing that team. 2 canceled sequels. It was supposed to be a trilogy. In 2016, Stanton said he'll always mourn not getting to make the second 2, the second and third one. And in a 10th anniversary thing in 2022, Stanton talked about how the second movie would have opened if he got to make it. It was very interesting and kind of fun. You might want to go read that. Taylor and Lynn remain proud of this movie. They say they get people coming up to them to this day saying they're fans of John Carter and they really love it and they think it's so good. So Taylor and Lynn were like, no, this is a movie to be proud of. And then time has definitely changed a lot of people's opinions, and not some others, but time really helped change a lot of people's opinions. The cinematography is stunning. The VFX are really good for, I would say, like 95% of the time. There are a couple of VFX moments that are a little cheese town, like John Carter looks a little fake when he's jumping around so crazy and skipping. But otherwise, it's very beautiful. The cinematography itself is pretty. Some of the blue screen, green screen stuff is a little obvious. They definitely, I haven't watched 2009 Avatar in a while. But from what I remember, they did not outdo 2009 Avatar. They did not. I'm sorry. I hate to bring it to them. But it was beautiful nonetheless. Editing-wise, there's one moment specifically that just is a little weird to me. I get what they're going for. There's a scene where John Carter is taking on, like, easily 1,000 Tharks by himself, and it's cut juxtaposed to him finding his wife and child dead after his house got burned down, and burying them. And it's edited back and forth between those things, almost in like him killing all these Tharks is really therapeutic, and like helping him come to terms with the fact that his wife and child are dead and that maybe he can move on after this. But that, it reads a little icky to me. I don't get that juxtaposition. I would have understood that in a way different scenario. The fact that him killing a bunch of aliens is what's helping him, that's weird. Or that's the message I was getting. That was a weird juxtaposition call in my mind. I don't know how else they could have accomplished that, but that was not great. I was not the biggest fan of that editing back and forth choice to give information. So this is about an ex-Confederate captain, yikes, looking for gold, and he meets a Thurn in a cave and grabs a medallion and gets sent to Mars, Barsoom, if you will. And there he's captured by Tharks and then kind of becomes friends with them because he can like jump real high and beat the crap out of people because he's super strong and super fast and super jumpy. And then he saves a princess, kinda, and the princess begs him to help her with her problems. And eventually he does help all of them with their problems and becomes prince, and then he's back home, and it's a bit messy. This is fun. And it's kind of cool. Like, it's a cool concept. I'm on board. I'm here for the ride. It's just a little messy. There were a lot of questions, and I feel like there was a lot of world building that needed to be done that, like, kind of had to be done while you're on the fly. But I still have so many questions. I feel like by the end, I had I understood Barsoom. I understood Helium. I understood the Tharks. And, Deja and the Santhans people. What I don't understand at all are the Therns. I have so many questions about the Therns. Why are they doing this? What the heck is going on? How come they can be, are they on every planet? Are they trying to take over every planet? I don't understand. So I just had so many questions about the Therns, and I hate that at the end, they're like, oh, we did it. And he throws away his medallion when he knows the Therns are still out there. I was like, why on earth? You know the Therns are still out there. The main big bad isn't dealt with yet. So that's my biggest problem with the plot and story, is that, they really set up the Therns to be the big bad, and nothing, satisfactory happens to that big bad in the first one, in my opinion. I get that, they would have carried over to the sequels, I'm sure. The Therns would have been, the end goal big bad. But something more had to happen to the Therns than just, they overthrow the ploy to have Santhan take over Helium and Barsoom. That's just, I don't know. It was kind of all over the place there. However, super fun still. Taylor Kitsch, I feel like, did, that's not really writing, but it's a fun story. It's a fun time. It has some really funny moments, actually. And then it's just, John Carter is a likable enough character. Deja is exactly what you'd expect. What I don't like is the love story, because it's lazy and annoying and an action movie love story, but whatever. You're there, it's happening, it's whatever. I love Woola and Sola a lot. And Tars Tarkas. I like them a lot. I think they're great. My favorite part is Woola, through and through. What a cute little pet creature person thing that is. I'm obsessed. Love them. Him, her, I don't know. And then my least favorite part is either the love story or not getting answers about the frickin' Thurn. Recommend. Sure. Watch again? Probably. I'd probably watch this again. It was fun. Specific moments. Probably just... No, I really like the end when John Carter, tricks the Thurn into getting the medallion. That was really clever, really fun. I love that it's freaking Daryl Sabra as his nephew. amazing. Yeah, no, that was good. I liked that a lot. I liked that he tricked the Thurn into being able to kill the Thurn to get the medallion in order to go back to Mars. I thought that was really great, super fun. I love Tars Tarkas, I love Sola, I love that kind of little side storyline there, where they're actually father and daughter. That was super interesting. Yeah, my biggest complaint is just I want more answers about the Thurn, but otherwise it's a fun movie. It's fun. That's it. That's all I got. My final rating is 7. Should I do medallions? Should I do planets? Maybe I'll do planets. 7 planets out of 10. Our total movie count is. Parent death total and cry count are still the same. They did not say anything about dead parents. I know Deja's mom is never mentioned. John Carter never mentions his parents. That's all I got. So, yeah. If you want to keep up with the movie I'm watching when, I put out videos every Monday and Friday, and sometimes Wednesday. Follow me on all socials. I did it wrong, but it's fine. Join Patreon at a tier starting at just $1. You get every video a week early, coupon code for merch, and exclusive merch access this month, because it's Celebration Month. Every tier gets a benefit from the tier above it, so of course, for just $1 for the whole month, you can have access to daily trivia. Go participate, please. It's super fun. Buy merch. Merch is great. Merch is great. Look at that. A classic. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe, but I'm not in charge of real life. You are, so do, and don't be the Thurn about it at all, please. John Carter. It's Celebration Month.